Were there any questions for Dr. Panet on capsulorhexis first before we move on? You're all okay, yeah? Okay, anyway, tomorrow we'll be practicing capsulorhexis. So my talk is hydrodissection. I call it revisited because I think there are lots of things to talk about. Now, some of you might say, you know, why do I need to talk about hydrodissection? I mean, it takes you 5-10 seconds, finish. And I've given this talk before, and some people say, yeah, no, waste of time, you know, hydrodissection, nothing. Well, I'll tell you that I think there's quite a lot in hydrodissection. Hydrodissection is actually a very important step. Subcapsular injection of fluid PSS so that you can free the nucleus, so that you can rotate it freely for whatever technique you want to remove the nucleus later on. Now, how do you know hydrodissection is adequate? When I ask this question of all my residents, they all will tell me it's the fluid wave, right? You all know you can see the fluid wave coming. But what happens if you can't see the fluid wave? Then I think there are two other very important signs, one of which is the nucleus coming up, the nuclear lift, and also sometimes if you do it too much, the nucleus prolapses out of the capsular bag. So just look at one of these cases here. So here's a case, there's the CCC there, not a very big CCC. Remember, when you bring your cannula in, some people like a flattened cannula, about 25 gauge, look for the edge of the CCC, lift it up and inject. And just watch very quickly, you'll see that's the wave, that's the lift. Okay, those are two signs. And this is another sign, pushback. You see the nucleus pops back in. Very useful sign as well. So let's do it again on the other side. You'll see the wave, that's the lift. And in this case, you see how the whole nucleus prolapses out of the bag. So those are the three signs I showed you earlier. But you know, my residents are quite difficult in Singapore. I tell them, see the nucleus lifting? They say, no, I don't see it. It's not there. What they mean, I'm talking rubbish. So I tell them, okay, there's one other clue to help you know that the nucleus is lifting. You can see that the cortex splits. You remember, when you're hydrodissecting, if the nucleus comes forward, you've got a layer of cortex. Now watch this cortex here. As it goes, the wave, the lift, that's the split. Have you seen that before? If you haven't, it's because you didn't look for it. Right? So next time you do your hydrodissection, I'll show it to you one more time because it's quite a nice clip, this one. Things happen quite quickly, like I say, it takes 1 or 2 seconds. Once hydrodissection starts, the wave, that's the lift. How do you know? That's the split. Okay? So, now another point is to prove that it's come forward, you push the nucleus back into the capsular bag. You will see, like in the first clip I showed you, the nucleus actually pops back in. It goes back in. That's what I call the push back sign. That also tells you you've got fluid behind the nucleus. So these are the 5 cardinal, very useful signs. I will tell you, if you see the wave, fine. But even if you see the wave, don't stop halfway. Some of my students are so happy they see the wave, they stop before the wave has gone to the other side. Then you still have incomplete hydrodissection. Make sure you complete it as I showed you. The nucleus lifting is very important. The cortex splitting helps you know that that is true. And if you want to confirm that the nucleus has come up, I always recommend you push it back and you'll see it pops back. And lastly, the nucleus prolapse. And normally, if you see even just 1 or 2 of these signs, that's enough to prove that you've got good hydrodissection. Just look at this very quickly. You see all 5 signs here. Let's see whether you all can spot it. Okay, start. Wave, lift, split. See that? In 1 second. Push back. There's the pushback. Okay, let's do it on the other side. That's the nucleus prolapse. Convinced? Any arguments?
No.
You believe, huh? Okay. Now I'm going to share with you a video clip now that I'm sure none of you have seen before. Now let me ask you a question. When you hydrodissect, how much fluid do you think goes behind the eye to separate the capsule from the nucleus? Do you think there's a lot or just a very thin layer? Not sure, right? When you look at the fluid wave go, it just looks like a tiny little wave. So let me show you a live online OCT of this phenomenon. So here's my live OCT focus on the middle of the lens, and here's your side view. The blue arrow shows here, and here the red arrow shows this direction. Okay, now you can see that's the top of the hydrodissected, the CCC nucleus is disturbed there because my needle was there. And this one, again, shows the anterior surface of the lens. Now we're going deep. I'm now showing the posterior lens capsule here. You can see even with the before hydrodissection, there's a little gray area where the cortex is sitting, the nucleus is there, there's some epinucleus there. Now here's my cannula going in. I'm going to hydrodissect from the right, so you want to watch on the right for see whether you can see fluid coming in. So I'm there now, and I start hydrodissecting, and what do you see? See that? There's water coming, and as I inject, I stopped halfway to show you what happens when you stop halfway, which is what you all do. Then I finish it off. You see how much fluid there is? There's a lot more fluid than you think there is. So I believe that most people have never seen hydrodissection live in 3 dimensions from the side. We all see it from the top. So this live OCT view is something that's available on the latest generation Zeiss rescan microscope, which I've been really using a lot for cataract surgery. It's very expensive. It doesn't really help you do cataract surgery, but as a teaching guide and as a research tool, I think it's very, very important. But you can see from here now how much fluid there is that goes in, and I can judge the quality of my hydrodissection from doing that. Some people like to rotate the nucleus. Do you think that's important? Now, I would say that most of the time I don't rotate my nucleus except when I'm doing pre-chopping. Later on, I'll talk about pre-chopping and I'll show you why that's important. But I think if you're not pre-chopping, rotation of the nucleus is not essential. A word or two about hydrodelamination and the golden ring. What is the point of hydrodelamination? You know, with soft nuclei, it's very hard to stop and chop or rotate them, right? So if you do hydrodelamination and you're able to isolate the nucleus, you're going to be able to pull the whole nucleus out en bloc in one lump using vacuum to remove it. Here we'll see that was hydrodissection, and now hydrodelamination, perinuclear, and you see the gold ring appearing. And once you've got the gold ring, I know that the nucleus is free. I think that the nucleus is free. How do I know for sure? I'll show you in the next video clip. Then you go to memory 2, impale the nucleus, lollipop the nucleus out, operation's over. You didn't need to groove, stop and chop very hard to do this in a soft cataract. No grip, right? It's difficult to do. So you can see that was very nice. Hydrodelamination is also key to handling posterior polar cataracts like this. You know that with these posterior polars, we do not hydrodissect, we hydrodelaminate around the nucleus, again trying to get that golden ring that tells me that I've isolated the nucleus. And then I'll go straight into memory 2, and then we will impale that nucleus again. Operation's over. Okay, your nucleus is gone, and then you can deal with the posterior polar opacity just by aspirating the epinucleus and pulling it away very gently from the eye. Again, hydrodelamination pays its dividends and you get a good outcome. Now let me show you the OCT view of hydrodelamination. Okay, so my new toys, I love showing these clips. So we're going to hydrodissect, and I'm going to hydrodelaminate and try and get the golden ring. Now you see that nucleus came out? This is the hydrodelaminated nucleus. So at this point I decide, okay, I wonder what this looks like in 3 dimensions from the side view. Once I cleared away the cortex, again, this is the front of the nucleus, the disturbed surface from my needle. There's the anterior capsular rhexis edge there and there. You can see the resolution is pretty good. Then as I go deeper, you can see the nucleus now. See that? There's the nucleus. Isolated. There's my hydrodelamination ring. And there's some hydrodissection layers down there. So for now, we're able to see the golden ring, the effect of the golden ring and hydrodelamination in 3 dimensions. You can see actually the waves go in many, many layers to separate the nucleus from the epinucleus, and the epinucleus from the cortex, and the cortex from the posterior capsule. I mean, but until we had this technology, you really didn't know for sure. You knew you hydrodissected, and Howard Fine taught us cortical cleavage hydrodissection, where if you hydrodissect under the capsule, you're in theory able to free everything up. But I think in practice, the fluid goes many, many places and it's hard. There you see that I'm going to memory tool and bring the nucleus out, and you can see the whole nucleus is now brought out of the bag. In there, and then it's very easy to either chop it or just phaco the whole nucleus up. And again, the hydrodelamination has made the surgery very, very easy indeed. Now this is something I hope never happens to you. After hydrodissection, surgeon puts in the phaco tip, and what happens? Nucleus is gone. Very fast phaco, right? Where's the nucleus? Where's the nucleus? It's on the macula. Right? It's on the macula. It hasn't gone up the phaco tip. This was a drop nucleus due to undetected hydrorupture of the posterior capsule. Now this may be occult, but you can actually suspect it's happened by this physical sign called the pupil snap sign, which I described more than 20 years ago now. It's called the pupil snap sign. Okay? What it is the sign of hydrodissection-related rupture of the posterior capsule, and the sign is basically that the pupil dilates at first, and then when the PC ruptures, the pupil constricts. Okay? So let's show you a clip of the pupil snap sign now. This is my index case, hydrodissection through the side port. Now just watch as I hydrodissect, watch that pupil, that's the snap. You see that? The pupil just did that. Action replay. That's the snap. So the first time this happened to me over 20 years ago, I didn't know what happened. I knew something happened, but I didn't know. So when something happens during surgery, what do? You go slowly, and it went on, and then what happened? The nucleus started dropping and tilted, and I had to go and bring in vectors to rescue it. Let's just show you another case. Hydrodissection. That's quite an obvious. I think this is your case right there. So when you were taking a residence room or something some years ago. And again, when this happens, you don't believe something happens. There it goes. When I first submitted this paper, one reviewer said this is rubbish, nonsense, never seen it before, so it doesn't exist. Reject. Luckily, there's a second reviewer who said publish it immediately. So it's now established that this is a condition that happens. And again, so when the nucleus drops, most of the time you can actually put in a needle to do posterior assisted levitation. I wouldn't use a 20 gauge needle because I think it's too big. Probably a 25 gauge needle is good for posterior assisted levitation. Here's one more case for you since you don't see this very often. So the message is just during hydrodissection, be gentle. So watch this. Hydrodissection, there's the snap. Okay? And again, when this happened to me and the nucleus is tilting, I'm telling my nurse, quick, get me my 25 gauge needle. Hurry up. But you know when you want the nurse to be fast, they are very slow. So that nucleus is gone. Okay? So then once it's gone to the macula, of course you've got to call your vitreoretinal colleague. So this is the hydrorupture of the posterior capsule. If you're too rough or too forceful, you will rupture the capsule, and when you pressurize the chamber with your phaco tip, you get the drop nucleus that you saw in the first clip. So, but this is uncommon. Most of you under hydrodissect, but when you see this film, you will under hydrodissect even more. But the secret is to get it just right. But is the pupil snap sign still relevant today? Well, I tell you, it still is. Here's a patient. This is one eye. This is the other eye. About 2 weeks before she saw me, she had an injection of intravitreal anti-VEGF agents, and it developed this cataract very, very rapidly. And basically, this was the eye. You can see it's a bit of a swollen intumescent lens. And this patient basically had a lens touch cataract. The intravitreal injection had ripped the posterior. There was a slight snap there. Do you see that? During hydrodissection, there was a gentle snap. So if you already have a small hole in the posterior capsule from the intravitreal injection and you hydrodissect, you see the snap, you know that the nucleus is gone, the posterior capsule is gone. And this is what happened in this case. So lens touch cataracts, be careful. Nowadays there's so many intravitreal injections being given, And you can also get it after drainage of SRF in steroid buckling. You can get it post-pass planar vitrectomy. You've got to be careful of iatrogenic cataract from intravitreal injections. Usually done without akinesia. Patient eyes move. The sharp needle will tear the posterior capsule, and the estimated incidence is 0.7% to 0.1%. So that's not that infrequent, okay? So if you suspect that there's a PCR there, just manage it as you would for a posterior polar cataract, but just be careful and don't be too rough when you hydrodissect. Okay. So another place where it's relevant, when FLACS first came into being, Tim Roberts and his group reported 2 or 3 cases in one list where they had dropped nuclei. And here's one of his videos. Now just watch after the FLACS, he's doing his hydrodissection. Watch that, people. There's a gentle snap sign there, okay? Now what happens in FLACS? They get gas formation, right? Gas formation in the capsular bag means that the capsular bag volume is increased, greater intralenticular volume, and then if you hydrodissect with the same force, you're going to rupture that posterior capsule and get the snap sign. So although this sign was described 20 years ago, it's still got relevance with lens-touch cataracts and post-femto cases. So just to end with, I'll just say that hydrodissection and hydrodelamination are 2 very important steps and are really quite essential maneuvers to perform properly so that you get better and safer phaco. Okay, thanks very much. Any questions on hydrodissection? All convinced. Okay. We're going to move on next to who's coming. Sri, you're coming up to tell us about hydrophagodynamics and how to remove the nucleus.